Hi, welcome to SF Live, episode 245. I'm James Sykes, CEO, President, Director of Baselode Energy Corp. We recently put out some excellent news today, and I'm here to talk about that, plus the baseload plans for the remainder of 2022 and looking beyond. I must also note that Soar Financial Partners and Kai Hoffman have no conflicts of interest and are not receiving any financial contributions for this program. So taking it away is our ever clever host, Mr. Kai Hoffman.
Fantastic, James. Fantastic intro. Much appreciated. Thanks so much. Thanks for joining us this morning. We recently chatted on another company, but it's great to have you on now with Baseload. And in the uranium space, I think that's a really widely debated topic right now, is uranium. I think it's quite topical to have this conversation. Prices have been up, but the stocks and overall have been extremely volatile. I think I want to start there because I named the video Uranium Yay or Nay. And I want to see a bit more, get some more insights actually into uranium market. You're the CEO of a uranium company. Give us a bit of like the insights you're seeing and what are you paying attention to?
Yeah, it's a great market. I love the uranium space. I'm a nuclear bull, so I am definitely very biased towards nuclear energy and uranium exploration. I think it's the path forward. Don't get me wrong. I love the idea of renewables. I just don't think they're good for baseload power everywhere across the globe. I think we do need nuclear in our mix, and we're seeing a change in sentiment, not just in global attitudes, but also in I guess the everyday person. They are now becoming aware that nuclear energy is a sustainable baseload power source. So in the market space, we've been in the doldrums for quite a number of years. Just after the Fukushima incident in Japan, the supply and demand really weren't there. Demand really cut back, and so therefore supply also got
Yeah.
a lot of operations curtailed. But we're seeing a resurgence. We are seeing more nuclear builds out, especially being led by China, India, and other places. And then we've got the idea of small modular reactors, which would hopefully be coming online within the next 5 to 10 years and making a huge reality of that situation. All of that increases your demand. And since the supply has been curtailed for X amount of years now, those mines have to come back. But even then, there's not enough capacity to really meet everything. So we're going to need new mine life as some of these older mines are dwindling out. One company that I really pay attention to mostly is Cameco Corp, right here in Saskatchewan, Canada as well. They're one of the biggest producers in the entire world. And they just recently announced that they're going to be bringing back their McArthur River project, that they're going to dual mine McArthur River and Cigar Lake. So to me, that indicates that they probably have contracts. They have a good reason to do that instead of leaving it on care and maintenance. So they probably have contracts that are coming in place, and people need that supply now. It's getting there.
Yeah, absolutely. We do see it. Kazakhstan is the main supplier of uranium, obviously. But as a CEO of uranium, like how have the conversations changed? Are you getting different kind of inbound calls? I just want to see like what you're seeing directly as an industry insider. Of course, I can see what's happening on a macro level. I see where uranium's supposed to come from. But like, let's really hold it down on the micro. Is like, are you getting different calls? Like, are traders calling you? Trafigura, the Glencores of the world, are they giving you a call? Say, hey, James, we need some uranium. What is happening? When are you guys going live?
Unfortunately, not yet,
Yeah.
as we are still a new company. We listed in 2020, June of 2020, and we're an exploration company, so we're not in the production stage. Not yet, anyway. Hopefully, that's down the road, but we'll assess as we get there. So our main goal is to discover uranium deposits that can be economic and hopefully move forward and do meet the current supply run. So that's our big push. Wow. Are we hearing from any of the big guys, Oranos, Camecos, Rio Tintos, anybody like that? No, unfortunately not. We don't have a resource yet. We have a discovery that we can hope turn into a resource, and because we hope that the economics are of high are very lucrative, that this could be something that could turn into a world-class deposit.
Let's catch us up on baseload real quick. We sort of jumped the gun here a little bit talking uranium, but give me the 30-second cliff note version of baseload energy, and then we can dive a little deeper into cap structure, projects, plans for this year, and things like that.
Fully funded, 20 million in the bank. We've got 3 excellent projects that are all based on a exploration model that we developed called Athabasca 2.0. Now, to be very honest, exploring outside of the Athabasca sandstone is not a new concept. It was one of the original concepts back in the day when Uranium City was being mined, but we have taken it to the forefront and extended the reaches of where we think that uranium deposits could be formed. And that's been our mantra going forward, is that Athabasca 2.0 look for near surface, open pitable style of high grade uranium deposits, things that could be economic instead of going deep underground with sandstone, with overlying sandstone and water infiltration issues.
Fantastic. Okay. Front cap structure. I always like, I keep saying that, but put a, get a common understanding of where the company is at right now. You said you're fully financed it for your plans. Like, give us an update on the cash position, and then run us quickly through the cap structure.
Okay, as mentioned, we've got 20 million in the bank. About half of that is in flow-through dollars that we need to spend this year. So you can tell right away that $10 million expended on exploration is a pretty large number, and it's going to mean a lot of good news for Baselode coming down the road. But we've also got 10 million in hard dollars. So we did a raise the end of last year, about $10 million hard dollars, and that puts us in a very nice situation that we don't have a time commitment on when we need to spend everything. We'd like to spend about 16 million this year, keeping some of that hard dollars in the back end. One never knows what happens in this industry since it's nuclear energy and people flip-flop right away. Which, as far as the share structure side of things, we've got about 80 million shares and 80 million shares outstanding, about 30 million options and warrants, so 110 million fully diluted. Very tightly held, about 17% held by insiders, 50% held by institutions, and about 33% held by retail. Now, the thing with the warrants is we've got about 25 million warrants, all at an average strike price of between 60 to 70 cents. We've got about 8 million warrants that will be coming off this year.
Fantastic. All right. 50. Like I have noted here, 50% is institutional funds. Is there anybody that sticks out that you can name, or is it just what was it called? Like I call it the shotgun approach. Like just a bunch of little pellets that are just in one cartridge.
Yeah, we do. I'd say it is that shotgun approach that we do have we have a lot of institutional backing, and it is spread out quite a bit. This recent placement that we did with PI Financial, they brought in Canaccord, Red Cloud again, and yeah, we've got Dundee and Sprott and a number of other institutions who have continuously come into our financing since 2020. So there is no one major institution who's got a large position in Baselode. It's a lot of institutions spread across the board.
Fair enough. And I have to ask, like QC Copper and Gold is one of your like sister companies in the OR group. They own 14%. Do we have to be worried about them selling into the market, or is like what's their plan? What's their intentions? Can you give us a quick update on that and what the motivation of the company is there?
Yeah, and I think that was actually answered in the news release last year, really, when QC Copper, they used to have a larger position and they sold about 7 million shares. So was roughly just less than 50% of their total holdings. And they sold it off to other institutions at a very nice price. And basically what that was able to do was generate a lot of income for QC Copper, but also put the shares into hands of institutions that were long-term holders of the company. So as far as the remaining 17%, we think that it's the same strategies, basically, that QC Copper is going to be a long-term holder of the company. They have no intention of moving unless the price is right, obviously. And so, no one can fault QC Copper for doing that. If they got in at 10 cents, 5 cents, and if the share price goes up to $2, obviously you'd expect a company to make some profit. It's the name of the game. It's why we're all in this. So, but hopefully they would be able to do the same thing and put it into hands of long-term holders who would want to see even higher prices.
Yeah, I think that the interest and strategies are aligned there as well. So I think that
Yes.
that makes sense. You mentioned cash position. Just remind me real quick.
Yep, 20 million in the bank, about 10 million flow through, and 10 million hard dollar.
Yeah, amazing. Trying to try to segue now to the exploration side. 10 million in flow through means you have to spend that money actually by the end of this year.
Correct.
So that means you have to explore quite aggressively. You, uh, I want to start talking about the project first, though, before we start talking tool plans, because we need to understand what you're actually exploring. Run us a bit, give us the highlights of the project and what the plan is for this year.
Accio is our flagship right now. It's taking all of our attention. It's basically why we've got 20 million in the bank. It was a new uranium discovery following the Athabasca 2.0 strategy on a project that a lot of people had written off historically. You can tell that just based on the amount of work that was done on it in previous years, which we look at things differently. We're outside the box thinkers. We staked it back in 2020 based on the potential that we saw in the airborne geophysical and regional structures. We thought that the right fluids could be moving through here. Lo and behold, there's a uranium discovery. Last year, we made our discovery drill holes, 4 drill holes into the system. 3 of them had intersected uranium. 2 of those intersected high-grade uranium. I guess our biggest intercept was 15.5 meters over 0.13 with 0.13 weight percent uranium. So very encouraging stuff indeed. And this year we've got 10 million to spend. We want to put all of that into Accio plus a little bit more. The intention is to really pound out Accio hard because we are seeing high grade. We're seeing a huge plumbing system. We see a lot of strike length opportunity to it, and it's near surface. It's everything that we thought Athabasca 2.0 should and could be. So we want to make sure that we drill this off properly. We are aiming for an initial NI 43-101 resource starting by the end of the year. Who knows if we'll actually get there or not? Depends on the amount of drilling, depends on the grades, the intercepts, which we remain confident and comfortable that that is something we will see by the end of the year. Starting working towards that.
Okay, fantastic. And now I'm torn because I wanted to ask you what is high grade uranium, and you mentioned it that you hit high grade uranium, but for me, it's like I'm not a sophisticated uranium investor. I feel really comfortable with gold, silver, coppers. Like I sort of know, okay, 10 grams over 10 meters of gold. That's fairly high grade, right? But in uranium, for example, you put out a news release this morning, 0.1 meter of 25,000 CPS. Can you explain and shed some light on that? Like as a common investor, as a retail investor, how would I understand this press release and what do I compare it to?
Yeah, I'm actually very glad that you answered that. There's a number of ways. Like there is no industry standard for what high grade uranium is. If you take all of the deposits globally, the average grade is about 0.1% U3O8. So we consider that, if the Athabasca is known for high grade, it's just everywhere you go, it's high grade uranium. So we just basically bumped up the average global grade by 5 times and said, okay, well, 0.5 is a good comfortable number. But that's not just a loose number. There's also a solid reasoning behind it. And you consider that you take the average grades of the Eagle Point mine in the Athabasca, Raven Horseshoe, as well as what is that name? P-Patch, which are all pretty solid uranium discoveries in the basement hosted rocks. Those 3 put together have an average grade of 0.5% U3O8. And if we're exploring for basement hosted deposits, then we'll follow those grades. However, on the converse side, you can also take Griffin deposit, Arrow deposit, PLS deposit, and Millennium, and average all those out, and you're going to get over 2% average grade as a basement hosted deposit. So it's a weird number. We're comfortable just saying 0.5% U3O8 is high grade uranium. Now, if people need to hear 1%, then that's to each and everyone's own. But we think we've got a good justification for it, as Athabasca is higher grade than the rest of the world. So, and how do your counts per second, your radioactivity levels really match up with uranium or U3O8 values? It's another good question, because there are a lot of different instruments which will give you different counts per second readings based on the crystal volume. So 10,000 counts from one.
Don't overcomplicate it now.
Yeah.
I was trying to understand it.
Right. Yeah, we'll keep it simple for our internal use then. Typically, we like to say that anything with 10,000 counts per second is greater than 1%. But once you start getting above that, then you really get into an exponential curve. That the more radioactivity you see, the higher the grades you see. We can't quantify how much uranium would be in 25,000 counts per second, which we're very happy to see that is a considerably high number based on my career. But a lot of the other things that we're seeing, with these greater than 1,000 counts, average intercepts are quite encouraging. So we're going to have a video coming out on Wednesday, which will do a very good job of explaining some of the radioactivity results in comparison to grades that we have on Accio already.
Yeah. No, feel free to put the link in the description or in the comments as well. Once you have it, just post a comment here on YouTube or so with that link as well, because I think it's really interesting to understand. Because also 0.1 meter, not the longest interval as well, right? So trying to understand of like the metrics, how uranium exploration works as well. So I really appreciate you shedding some light on that. And I don't want to dive too deep down into that rabbit hole. I want to circle back to Accio now. Sort of the history of the project. You said the company only listed in 2020, and what is the history of the project? Like, are you the first operator on the claims, or not operator but explorer on the claims?
We're the first explorer on the claims since the early to mid 2000s, but even then, nobody had put a drill hole in there. From what we can tell, there's only been one drill hole on the project in its entirety since people were exploring it back in the 60s and 70s. Most of the work was done in the 60s and 70s, a lot of boulder prospecting and airborne geophysical surveys, but nobody had really followed up. And I think one of the reasons behind that is that it doesn't have conductors, not the classical sense of graphitic conductors that people are searching for. For the longest time, and even today, you have to have a conductor on your project to be considered a viable exploration project. We've seen things differently. We know that you don't always need a conductor. And I think this is really proving true at Accio. Yes, and we do know that there is a conductor there now, but it's not controlling all of our mineralization.
How does uranium exploration differ from gold exploration, for example? You said you're also using geomag, max surveys and things as well. Is that very much different? Like, what are your pathfinders and what really leads to uranium exploration success?
There's a number of things. Everyone has their own different tastes on how they like to explore. Resistivity has been proven to be a great tool. Gravity as well, magnetics. So typical things that you do in gold settings as well. The best way to find uranium is to follow uranium. As far as pathfinder elements, they change from deposit to deposit. So stick with uranium if that's what you're chasing.
Stick with uranium. Perfect. Okay. Exploring now. You're drilling right now. 10,000 meters is the current campaign. How is that progressing, and how's the news flow out of the labs?
Progressing quite nicely. We did have a little bit of hiccups in the first few weeks that after we did announce that we started drilling. We just started operations in the coldest weeks of February, so you can expect a lot of issues when temperatures are below -40. Things don't want to work. Water lines are freezing. People aren't happy, so we had a couple of people quit. But no, everything's back up to speed. We're doing good. We pumped out about 2,200 meters, and since we announced the start of the drill program, completed 7 drill holes. 3 of those have intersected uranium mineralization. The samples have been sent off to the lab. So these will be our first sample results that we've sent off, and we're expecting those probably within 4 to 6 weeks. It depends on what the lab backup situation is like. Hopefully it's not a bad situation since it's still early in the year. We can't comment obviously on the lab turnaround time in any meaningful and truthful position. But this is a great start. We are going to keep rolling throughout the rest of the season. One of the things that we have changed, though, is that initially it's a 10,000 meter program. We were planning to take a break between May and maybe a little bit of June and then start back up again for another 10 to 30,000 meter program. However, given the way that the market is and even supply chain issues and just trying to find competent drillers and drill companies, we figured that we're just going to roll right through. We're fully funded. We're helicopter supported, so we don't have to worry about the spring thaw or anything else like that. We're just going to keep on rolling. There's going to be no break. We'll reach 20,000 meters and make decisions at that point. And that will give us enough drill holes to really identify what we're seeing, where we go, other targets. And got a couple other projects we want to get to, but lots of activity to keep on going.
I was going to say, leave those drillers in the camp. Don't let them leave. Don't ever let them leave.
Yep. Nope. They're stuck there. They're chained and shackled.
Don't let them leave. No, that's I've been hearing that left, right, and center. Like I've heard stories of people poaching drillers at airports as well, luring them in with $10,000 bonus, signing checks and stuff.
I wouldn't be surprised. Not in this market. This is crazy. This is like 2005, 2006 again.
Yeah. On your drill program, so you're drilling now. Let's call it a 20,000 meter program because you decided to just plow on through. But how dependent is your drilling on previous results and waiting to get those results in, or do you have enough targets so you can move the drill around while waiting for assay results?
Plenty of targets. And that's the thing with dealing with uranium, with exploring for uranium, we get the radioactivity results. And because myself and my colleague, Cameron McKay, who's our VP, we've got a lot of experience in the uranium industry. We know we have an internal knowledge of what these radioactivity measurements mean, and we can justify and make decisions based on that. So we get real-time, immediate results. I realize the market doesn't understand radioactivity results, but they are very quite meaningful and do have a good correlation to U3O8. So we use that in planning each drill hole, real time. So we don't have to wait on assays or anything. This is why we can't roll through 20,000 meters. We've recently identified, well, so I guess beginning of the year, we got an airborne survey, results from an airborne survey back. And recent interpretations of that have shown that there's a very good structural control that we never saw previously in other surveys. And this has now extended the ACCIO structural trend at least a kilometer to the southeast. So we've got a lot of legroom to play with now. Originally, we were only thinking it was about 500 to 750 meters, but it's a lot larger. And this, so we're going to keep pounding along. We're taking aggressive step outs, 50 meters, 100 meter step outs, and hitting mineralization as we keep making those.
Oh, you could see it. My allergies are getting worse here today. I don't know. I think I live under a cedar tree or something. My nose is about to kill me. But I wanted to follow up here because we got a question in on YouTube from Frank Martinello, and he's asking sort of to elaborate. Like, James, can you break down what the latest results mean? I think you sort of highlighted like, and what do they compare to? Is there any way to dumb it down so we can grasp the findings? Right, like I think really people are trying to understand what does it actually mean. Like I've been struggling with it. What does 25,000 CPS mean? We talked about it for a second, but like really dumb it down. And is there something we can compare it to?
That's where our news release plan for Wednesday is going to come out. That myself and Cameron are going to do a very intuitive video because we realize that a lot of people who are new to the uranium space don't understand. If you go back 2006 and to 2010, 11, 12, back when Fission's making discoveries, Hathor Exploration's making discoveries, Denison, a lot of people they would put out CPS results, and the industry understood what those meant. So I think between the doldrums of after Fukushima, when people didn't give a damn about uranium exploration, and a lot of these new investors coming into the space don't understand it. So it's a re-education process that we're committing to, and that's what we will be doing on Wednesday. I can't really give too much guidance on what to expect, not in this interview as it is. 25,000 counts is huge. Like that is a significant level of radioactivity. Yes, it's only on one 10 centimeter piece of core, but it's within a broader intercept, about 11 meters plus, or about 12 meters of an average grade or an average level of radioactivity, about 1,500 CPS. If you go back to our initial discovery and where with hole one, we had about 600 counts per second over 15.5 meters using all the same metrics. So if we're seeing about 2.5 times the levels of radioactivity, and yes, we had a 10 centimeter piece of core in that hole as well that had 10,000 CPS. So now we're seeing 2.5 times the average radioactivity. We're seeing 2.5 times the highest peak of radioactivity. You can start to assume that this is going to be a much higher grade drill hole and results. So that's kind of the thinking that we have.
Perfect. No, I appreciate the clarification there. I think it makes sense. Like, it seems like a lot of people are sort of struggling with understanding it. As I said before, like I think everybody understands gold. 10 grams is 10 grams. There's not much variety in that. But with uranium and also lithium, and I mentioned to you before, like battery metals, I think it gets more challenging because it's not something you see every day, and you're trying to put some context around it. So I appreciate that. The clarification there. So James, what's next for the company? You're drilling. Is it really just drill results coming out, or any other news flow items we should be looking forward to?
Drill, drill, drill. We're going to push ACCIO. So we did say 20,000 meters, but we are fully budgeted for 40,000 meters if we want to and if we need to. So that budget is there. And we do have 2 other projects that we already have permits in place for, and we will be drilling this year as well. And that's the rest of the Hook project. So ACCIO itself is on the Hook project. We didn't get to test the rest of our targets last year because of the Akio discovery, which we will be looking at about 6 to 10 targets to drill test this year on Hook as well. A very similar style of geophysical anomalies that is over Akio as well. So hopefully we can make some discoveries on there. About 2,500 meters to 5,000 meters planned on that. Then we've also got our Catharsis project, which is south of the Athabasca Basin. Very large project. Currently flying an airborne survey. That's VTEM survey. So once we get those results back, we will couple them with the results that we have from last year as well. We'll be able to better define our drill targets there. Same type of idea though. We go in helicopter supported 2,500 meters to 5,000 meters. We're going to bump around. We're going to hit it hard. We're going to hit it fast, and then we'll see what we hit. Hopefully, we're successful on that project as well. Because what's better than one discovery? 2 discoveries. What's better than 2? 3. You just keep going on like that. So it's
that's a good point. I got to jump in here real quick because we got one more question from Frank in here on YouTube, and he's sort of asking what is the strategy, right? And you just said, well, discovery after discovery after discovery, but now the question is like, what is the next step? Like, do you plan to go into production, feed a local mill, sell the asset? Like, what is sort of the business plan of Baseload, and what's the strategy? I think that's the question in the essence.
One step at a time. So our initial business strategy was make a discovery. We make a discovery, shareholder share price will appreciate, and shareholders will benefit from all that. Now, the next step is get to an NI 43-101 resource. While we're doing that on Akio, then we can make multiple discoveries. Because again, if we're a company with 2 or 3 brand new discoveries, I think we'll be valued at a much higher position than the rest of our peers. Once that resource is out, then that's when a lot of things really change, because a lot of the bigger companies, and even the mid-tier companies, would probably wait until a resource comes out, let the exploration company do all the grunt work, get to the resource, and make some moves after that, see if it's viable or not. But for us internally, we get to that resource stage, and then we go to the next step. We would start working immediately on a PEA, and even environmental assessments, and just again trying to get it to the highest level possible. If we do end up moving it on our own, I don't see any reason why we wouldn't. It's definitely looking like it could be something that could move forward. Obviously, we don't know yet. We've got to drill a lot more, but that is one of the ideas, is that we either move it on our own or somebody takes us out before that point. We'll wait and see, but we're going to keep doing what we can on our exploration side of things and just trying to make it as attractive as possible.
Fair enough. I really appreciate you answering that question. I think that gives some clarity as well to see where the story's going. It's an exploration story. Once the discovery is confirmed, we'll see where it goes, right? Fantastic. And James, thanks so much for your time. I really appreciate it. Thanks for humoring us a bit of a uranium discourse as well, some uranium 101 there. Really appreciate it. Thanks for interpreting results for us and giving us a bit better understanding of what all this actually means. So really appreciate it. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you very much, Kai. What it all means in the end is that we're seeing better intercepts. Fantastic. The system is growing.
All right, let's hope that keeps going. And everybody else, thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure to follow us on YouTube, follow us on Twitter, of course. Hit the like and subscribe button, and leave a comment. We want to hear from you. What do you think of the company? What do you think of the strategy? And let us know. And if you're an investor in a uranium company, or if you're even an investor in Baseload, hit that like button, smash it. That way the YouTube algorithm picks up on it, and other investors get to see it as well, and that might help the investment thesis. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll be back with a lot more live content later this